Hi, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another tag video. I say another as though I've done loads of them. I think this is actually only my second. So today I'm going to be doing the school day book tag. It was originally created by What Victoria Read. I will leave her video linked in the description below. I love the idea of this tag. Victoria, who I've been watching for a few months now, she is actually doing her PGCE. So I think that's probably where the inspiration came from. When I watched her video, I was very... I've got a bit of paper up there trying to block the sun out, and gradually it is just peeling off, and now it's holding on by one tiny little bit of sticky tape. Probably about to fall off any second now, you'll probably hear it. Anyway, I absolutely loved the feeling of nostalgia that I got when I was prepping for this video. Obviously it has been, there we go. Obviously it has been years and years since I was last at school, but I loved school and it brought back so many sort of happy memories. A lot of the books that I mentioned in this video I have done full reviews of. As we go through, I'm not going to keep sort of mentioning that because it will just get really boring. So if you're watching this and as we go through you think, oh, I'd actually like to know a little bit more about that, just check out the description box because I will link everything that I've got a video on in the description below. Okay, let's get into it. So I'm going to start with the time of day questions and then I'm going to move on to the subject questions. It will all become clear as we go through. I've got my phone here because this is where I've got the prompts. Okay, so first bell. Tell us about a book that first got you into reading. This is the question, if I'm honest, that really made me want to do this tag. I'm thinking about doing a whole video on sort of my childhood favourite books or books I loved growing up. If you'd be keen to see that, let me know in the comments. So for me, I don't think it was necessarily a book, unless maybe it would be Postman Pat. That was a book that I remember my parents reading to me when I was quite young. And as they crept out mid-sentence, thinking that I'd fallen asleep, I would then finish off the line from the book, much to their dismay. I remember my mum and dad telling me about that. I think we were only talking about it the other day. I've loved books from a very young age, but I think it's more of an author that really got me into reading, and that is, this is going to be very telling of my age, so I've got some of the books here. I just need to make sure they don't all fall on the floor like they did the other day. Yeah, so the author that I think really got me into reading when I was younger is Enid Blyton. I loved Malory Towers. This was my original book. This brings back so many happy memories. I mean, look how thick this book is. I absolutely loved it, and look at the illustrations. When I was a bit younger, I really enjoyed The Secret Seven and Famous Five. So this here is The Secret of Spiggy Holes, and this is the book that I remember most. So I remember, I think we were on holiday in Ibiza and my dad and I were reading this. This is a newer version of the one we had originally. My sister and I bought this for my dad for his birthday. Yeah, we were sat reading this, I think in that in-between time, you know, between sort of coming up from the pool and getting ready and going down for dinner. I love that time on holiday, and I remember reading this on the bed. Such happy memories, and I really hope that my niece and nephew start reading these. Seb is really into reading. He absolutely, I mean, he devours books at the moment. My sister's struggling to keep up with enough books to feed him. So it's break time. Which book have you most recently had to take a break from or DNF'd? Okay, so I think I've mentioned this before. I don't take breaks from books. I am either reading it or I DNF it. And I hate to DNF a book. I will do everything to keep reading, to just get through it, to complete it. It's a lot neater. That's just generally how I live my life, and I'm the same with books. The last book I DNF'd, I think, was actually about this time last year, maybe a little bit later, and it was The 7 Deaths of Evelyn... I was going to say Hugo. I said this before, I get mixed up between these two and they are nothing alike. The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. I found this book really taxing. It hurt my brain. I couldn't escape with it at all. I felt as though I really needed to concentrate. I read in order to immerse myself in someone else's world, escape from my world. And to be honest, I didn't feel as though I was getting any of that with that book. It was just way too complicated for me. I know so many people have really enjoyed it, but it wasn't one for me. So that's the last book I DNF'd. But generally, I hate to DNF a book. And also, I will not just take a break from a book. If I've left a book, I have left it. I will not be going back to it. Okay, Lunchtime. Tell us about your favourite book that features food. Now, I don't have it here. I actually read this book on my Kindle, but I think the book that immediately springs to mind is Jasmine Guillory's Party of Two. There is so much talk in this book of cake. I think it's called yellow cake, which I'm assuming is sort of a sponge cake over here. If you are American, or if you know, let me know if that's the case. Is yellow cake sponge cake? That's what I assumed it was. Yeah, so in Party of Two, there is a lot of talk of food, but mainly pie and cake. And oh my god, it made me so hungry. Do not read it if you're trying to be a bit healthy. It's definitely not one to read in January. Okay, final bell. Which book have you most recently finished reading? So after I read Leave the World Behind, which I did a review on last week, it didn't get the best score. I then went on to read Before I Saw You by Emily Houghton. This is a pre-release. I think it's out next month. I won't tell you too much about it because I have a full review coming next week, but it follows the story of Alfie and Alice, who find themselves in the same rehab ward in hospital. And it poses the question of whether you can fall in love with someone without actually having seen them. Homework. What was the last non-fiction book that you read and enjoyed? Okay, I'm just going to find it because I've got it here. Typically, I don't read a lot of non-fiction. I'll probably read a couple in a year. This was one of the ones I read last year, and this is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. So Phil Knight is the founder of Nike, and this is all about the story of how he built the company up. I found it so interesting. I also can't believe how little Phil Knight is known, despite being the founder of a huge multinational brand. I mean, I had never even heard of him until I picked up this book. Okay, so we're now in the staff room. Tell us about a book that you reach for when you need to take a break. Like I was saying with the book that got me into reading when I was younger, I don't have a specific book that I go to when things get a bit tough. It tends to be more of a genre, or particular authors within that genre. So it will come as no surprise to you if you've been watching my channel for a while that I veer very much towards chick lit if I'm feeling a bit... Chick lit is basically my go-to if life is getting a bit tricky, if I want to escape, if I just want to immerse myself in someone else's world and that world be very comfortable. There are favourite authors within this genre that I typically turn to. Paige Toon, Lindsay Kelk. Then if I'm looking for something a little bit more sort of gritty and in-depth, I will turn to Liane Moriarty or Karen Swan. Both of those authors are, I think, great chick lit, but they have a bit of something extra to them. I can rely on those authors to whisk me away somewhere and basically just make me forget my problems. Okay, so then there are the subjects. So Victoria said that you can pick and choose which subjects you want to answer questions from. So I have basically chosen 4. 2 of which were my favourite subjects and 2 I hated because basically I was rubbish at them. So the first one is English. Now this was one of my favourite subjects at school. And the question is, tell us about one book you studied at school and recommend one book you'd like to see added to the curriculum. Now, I studied To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee, and I was thinking about this when I was doing a bit of prep for this video, that actually that is one of the very few books that I would pick up and reread. And I'm not someone who rereads books. I feel as though there are way too many new books out there that deserve my attention. Not to say if you are someone who rereads books there's anything wrong with that. That's just you know, I feel I'm a very slow reader. So if I go over books I've read before, I'm not going to read all of these that are on my shelf here. I love To Kill a Mockingbird. I definitely think it would be something I would reread. It's a story that sticks with me even now. I can remember it pretty much off by heart. And a book I'd like to see added to the curriculum. I mean, I'm thinking more here if it was sort of secondary school children. I don't think it would work for primary school. I think The Midnight Library, there is a lot of very important messages in there that I think might sort of resonate with older secondary school kids. Next subject is maths. I hated maths, which is ironic now because my job involves a lot of numbers. The question is, how do you rate your books? Now, I have moved basically from a 10-star rating to a 5-star rating, and I feel as though now this ties in a lot more with my Goodreads ratings. I like things neat and tidy and lined up. I do, however, give half points. I don't think that there is enough range for me personally if I didn't do half points. I know that's a little bit controversial, but that's what works for me. PE. I loved PE. I would say PE was probably my favourite subject, and I would say sports day was probably my favourite school day of the year. I loved it. The fact that you didn't have to sit in a classroom, you could be outside with all your friends taking part in sports, that was my dream. I would have done that every day if I had a choice. But the question is, show us your biggest book on your TBR. Now, I just had a look through my books, and actually I don't have that many sort of hefty, chunky books. I think the one that is probably biggest is Lucy Diamond On a Beautiful Day, and this is over almost 500 pages. But yeah, I mean, I think all my books are around sort of 300 to 500. I don't really have anything really chunky. I think I maybe get a bit daunted by really thick, heavy books. Okay, and finally is art. I am worse at art than I was at maths, and that is saying something. Everything I used to try to draw, and probably even now, as I don't tend to do a lot of drawing now, but everything that I used to try to draw came out looking like a cow, regardless of what it was that I was trying to draw. So the question is, tell us 3 books that you think have the best covers. So again, I had a look up and down my bookcase. I have got one that I think has probably the most beautiful spine, not necessarily cover, although the cover is quite pretty now I'm looking at it. So this is the spine of Kristen Hanna's The Nightingale, and actually the cover is very pretty. I like the colour combination of sort of the teal and the gold. Is it teal? I don't know. But the spine is really pretty, and it really stands out on my bookshelf amongst sort of the other plainer spines. Another cover that I really like is The Christmas Secret by Karen Swan. I mean, the warm lights, the snow, I mean, the beautiful building in the background, the lady seems quite dressed up and snug. It's just a very cozy looking cover, I think. And then finally is Tasmina Perry's Deep Blue Sea. I bet you can't guess why I chose this one. I would love to be stood somewhere looking out at this view now. You have to excuse my throat. I think my voice is going. I would love to be stood somewhere like this now, looking out at the sea, palm trees, sun on my skin, overlooking the ocean in a flowy dress, when actually I'm just looking out the window and it's pouring with rain, grey sky, and we're in lockdown. Very different. Yeah, so that is why I've chosen that one. So that is it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I realise it is a little bit different to what I would normally do. Let me know if you like tag videos by giving this video a thumbs up. Then obviously it just really helps me to sort of know what you enjoy, what you don't like so much, and then I can plan my content around that. So I think the last part of the tag is to tag 3 more people to do this tag. So I am going to tag Charlotte from Lots of Books. Now Charlotte's relatively new to BookTube. I'll leave her channel linked in the description below. She does reviews of books that I typically love. She's also recently done a reading vlog. She did a great job of that. Yeah, her content is just generally very feel good and uplifting, which I think we all need at the moment. So I'm going to tag Charlotte. I'm also going to tag 2 people that aren't booktubers, but within their sort of lifestyle content, they talk a lot about books, and I would love to see their answers to this tag. So I'm going to be tagging Faye from Faye's Fix, and also Sabrina from A Little Obsessed. Again, I will leave their channels linked in the description below. They are 2 YouTubers that I will watch their videos every time I see them in my subscription box. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good week, and I hope to see you again back here next weekend where I will have a book review for you. Take care. Bye.